Imagine being completely alone in your house, the lights flickering, the wind howling outside, and suddenly realizing you're not as alone as you thought. That's exactly what happened to me one night when I was home alone, and I swear, everything I'm about to tell you is true. But before we dive deep into this nightmare, hit that like button and subscribe to Nightmare Chronicles if you haven't already, because the stories we share here will haunt your thoughts long after you leave. It all started on a Friday evening. My parents had gone out for a late dinner, and I was left to take care of the house. The first few hours were normal. I watched some TV, made a snack, and even laughed at a couple of YouTube videos. But as the clock approached midnight, things began to feel off. The house grew quiet in a way that felt unnatural. The usual creaks and groans of the old wooden floors were replaced by a heavy, almost deliberate silence. That's when I heard the faintest whisper coming from upstairs. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but then I heard it again, clearer this time, almost like someone was calling my name. I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I called out, "Hello?" But no one answered. Just silence. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just my imagination, but every instinct in my body screamed that I wasn't alone. I grabbed a baseball bat and slowly walked toward the staircase. The second I reached the top, I felt this icy chill hit me, like someone was standing right behind me. I spun around, but there was nobody there. My mind raced, but I told myself to stay calm. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe a neighbor's kid had snuck in. Then I heard the sound of footsteps coming from the kitchen, soft but deliberate, moving back and forth. I crept toward the kitchen, my hands shaking, and when I peeked around the corner, I saw something that I will never forget. The fridge door slowly opening on its own, then slamming shut as if someone had just closed it violently. I gasped, and that's when I realized the front door, which I had locked earlier, was now slightly ajar. Panic surged through me, but before I could react, I heard a low, guttural laugh echoing from the living room. I ran back to the staircase and called 911, whispering frantically to the operator that someone was in the house. While waiting for help, I hid in my bedroom closet, trying not to make a sound, my ears straining for any clue of movement. Minutes felt like hours. Then, from the darkness, I saw a shadow move across the hallway, almost gliding, stopping just outside my bedroom door. I could hear it breathing, slow and deliberate, as if it knew I was there. I clenched the bat so hard my knuckles hurt. My mind raced with memories of horror movies, but this was real. The shadow didn't move, just stood there for what felt like an eternity. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, it vanished. The police arrived minutes later, searching every corner, but found nothing. No forced entry, no intruder. Just the slightly open front door and the lingering chill in the air. To this day, I don't know what it was, but after that night, I never wanted to be home alone again. That was just the first of the experiences I've had, and you will soon hear why others have reported similar terrifying encounters when left alone in their homes. One story comes from a woman named Lisa. She was in her apartment late at night, watching TV when she heard someone whisper her name from the bedroom. She swore she was alone, but then all the lights flickered, and her phone screen displayed a message she had never received before: "I'm watching." Terrified, she called 911, but by the time the police arrived, all that remained was a faint wet footprint leading from her bedroom to the living room, disappearing into thin air. Another story comes from a man named Daniel, who was home alone while his family visited relatives. He fell asleep on the couch, only to wake up at 3 a.m. to the sound of his front door slowly opening. Thinking it was a family member, he called out, but no one answered. When he turned on the light, he found every single door in his house wide open, and on the mirror in his hallway, a message written in condensation: "You're next." Moments later, the doors slammed shut, and Daniel never stayed home alone again. These aren't isolated incidents. People all over the country have experienced similar terrifying moments. From doors opening on their own, strange whispers, shadowy figures appearing in hallways, to footsteps echoing through empty rooms. The scariest part is that many of these encounters seem intelligent, like whatever is in the house knows you're alone, and it's waiting for the perfect moment to make its presence known. One chilling tale comes from a teenager named Mark. He was home alone one evening, scrolling on his phone, when he noticed something strange in the security camera app. He had cameras set up throughout his house. On the feed, he saw a figure standing at the top of his stairs, completely still, staring directly into the camera. Mark ran upstairs, thinking maybe it was a family member playing a prank, but the stairs were empty. When he checked the footage later, the figure had vanished entirely. There are countless variations, but the pattern is always the same. When you are alone, your home becomes a hunting ground, and the sense of security you take for granted disappears in an instant. On Nightmare Chronicles, we've covered many of these encounters, and viewers keep sending us stories that make your blood run cold. People report hearing knocking when no one is outside, objects moving by themselves, and even seeing shadowy figures leaning over them while they sleep. And sometimes, it's not even physical, it's the sense that someone or something is watching you, breathing in the same space, waiting, studying your every move. That's what makes being home alone so terrifying. It's the combination of isolation, vulnerability, and the unknown. You never know if it's a prank, a stalker, or something else entirely. One last story I'll share is from a woman named Rachel. She was home alone on a stormy night. Lightning flashed, illuminating her living room, and she noticed a small handprint appear on her frosted window facing inward. She ran to the window, but no one was outside. Moments later, all the mirrors in her home fogged up simultaneously, and a single message was written on all of them: "I see you." She fled to a neighbor's house and didn't return for days. These experiences all have one thing in common. The fear of being home alone is primal. It taps into a deep sense of vulnerability we rarely feel when others are around. And the fact that these encounters often defy logic makes them even more terrifying. So, if you're watching this tonight while home alone, I want you to remember something. Keep your doors locked, keep a light on, and trust your instincts. And maybe, just maybe, don't watch this video in the dark, because the stories Vez shared on Nightmare Chronicles prove that being home alone can turn even the safest house into a nightmare. If you've ever had a terrifying experience at home alone, share it in the comments below, because your story might be featured in our next episode. And don't forget to like and share this video so others can experience these spine-chilling tales too. Stay safe, stay alert, and remember, the shadows are always closer than you think.